to MCU Mondays. As always, I'm your host, Chris. Glad to be here, joined by my co-host, Debbie. What's up,
in
Debbie?
the house.
We're also joined tonight. David is out at a band. He's seeing a band. Anyway, he's not here. And we are joined once again by John Ambrose of Geek News Now. Writes articles and now appears on shows.
Go where I'm wanted.
We're glad you could be here. Today we're going to be talking a lot about Guardians of the Galaxy. We're going to check out the new trailer. We're going to watch a new trailer. We're going to talk about that. See where that's going. We're also going to talk a little bit about James Gunn, because he is the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, and this looks to be his last Guardians of the Galaxy, as he is going over to DC to manage or co-manage their films. So this is it for Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll talk about that. And what else did I say we're going to talk about? Oh yeah, Phase 4 is officially over with the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. So we're going to talk about our thoughts on Phase 4 and our feelings going forward and what we think might happen. So all of that and more today on MCU Mondays. Let's play the theme song so we can get into it.
You should just cue the music.
It's MCU Mondays on Geek News Now. We're talking about all Geek News Now. Movies and TV and comics, news, opinions, breaking trailers and reviews. It's Geek News Now. It's your favorites.
That, of course, is from the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which we talked about last week. I think pretty much overall very, very much enjoyed it. And I was thinking about that earlier, is Guardians of the Galaxy, when it was first announced, the original one, it's like, who the heck are these characters? And for that being the case, they're one of the most well-received group of films. Like Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, people would probably say they enjoy more than, let's say Thor 2 or something like that. And go ahead.
It's it's kind of weird, because a lot of people that didn't know who they were asking, who are these guys? And a lot of people, like when I would hang out in the comic shop before I was married, we saw the trailer. And we were like, Star-Lord seems kind of, douchey. I don't know how this is going to play out. And then the movie came out. We were all just like, this is awesome. Like, there was no lack of confidence, but there was no confidence. It was just kind of like, so this is a thing.
Yeah.
But then it came out. We were just like, this is amazing. It's connected, but it's separate, so you could just watch those ones and not have to worry about what's going on with the Infinity Gauntlet. So it was just, the series is great.
And I think James Gunn takes full advantage of the fact that he is making comic book movies. Like, I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy 2 recently, because I've seen the first one more, and I had time to watch one of them. So I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I'm looking at like Gamora in the beginning opening credits, which are ridiculous, by the way. It's she does this thing where she her gun's out of ammo, so she tosses the gun aside, like whips out a sword and stands there posing. And I'm sitting there going, she's really just posing like that. And I was like, but at a certain point, isn't like a quintessential comic book movie somewhere where you should be posing and doing things like that and being a little bit over the top? And I think Guardians of the Galaxy and James Gunn does that very well. So I think that's going to be good news for DC going forward.
Great news.
The fact that he's going to be over there. But we'll talk about that more. We'll talk about James Gunn more after we watch the trailer and talk about the trailer for the newest Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 coming out in May. So this is the first trailer for that. Let's check it out.
We were gone for quite a while. But no matter what happens next, the galaxy still needs its guardians. Hello, we come in peace. Come on, Drax. Seriously, dude? No, 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 no!
I love this.
Don't
Space
forget
Throwback. Wow.
where we came from.
We have been running our whole lives. Pete, I'm done running.
We'll all fly away together. One last time. Into the forever. That beautiful sky.
Exactly what I was talking about.
And we'll kill anyone who gets in our way.
No, not kill anyone.
Kill a few people.
Kill no people.
Kill one guy, one stupid guy who no one loves.
Now you're just making it sad.
Now you're just making it sad. Okay. Well, that's definitely got me excited, but I was excited for this before the trailer came out, but the trailer just confirms, like, I knew the music. One of the things you look forward to in a Guardians of the Galaxy is great music. I knew the trailer was going to have something. Space Hog, what a great...
God, I forgot that song. I always forget about it, and then when it comes on, it's like, oh yeah, this was an awesome jam back in the day.
And it's like mellow kind of, and this is like a... I don't know if they re-recorded it or what they did there because it's slightly different, but definitely it was awesome. And then seeing this, the humor, it's just right on point. Drax, and this is a lot of their last movies. It sounds like,
Yeah,
definitely Drax, possibly Rocket, just by the things they seem to be setting up. There's a lot of Rocket intense stuff, and so
he's a merchandising opportunity, though. I don't think he's really going to go away for long if he goes away.
I don't know. You never know. They're setting up. This is the time when they're setting up all the new stuff.
I mean, Groot went away, and then we got Baby Groot. So I mean,
That's true, but that's a slightly different. It does look like either if it's in a flashback, I think it might be in a flashback, but we see Rocket hugging like an otter.
That's his girlfriend, Lila.
Okay, there.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering,
that's Lila, either his girlfriend or his wife. I'm not quite sure which one, but yeah.
And I think what James Gunn does right with these movies, because I wasn't really, even though I've been collecting comics my whole life, I haven't bought a new comic since about 2015, but for my whole childhood going into my mid to late 20s, I collected comics. I was never a huge Guardians of the Galaxy fan. I didn't really care about them, but the movies are so good, and I love watching the movies. And I think he does what Disney wants a lot of the filmmakers to do, but he does it in a way where I have no idea what actually went on in the comic, but this movie's awesome, so I'm digging it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's lucky in a way that that's maybe why he even chose this group, is because it would give him more leeway because they're not well known. People expect certain things out of like Captain America, out of Iron Man, out of Thor. And you could even see with some of the newer Thor movies, people are like, this Thor is just too ridiculous. I think even Chris Hemsworth just said that.
Chris Hemsworth is done. I would be shocked if he came back to this role. He got tired of Thor getting fat and trying to find his way. and then getting skinny and trying to find his way, and then just generally trying to find his way.
King for a
It's like-
day, giving that away.
Like he was.
He said he would come back if Thor was changed.
I think that is the one Avenger that has been mishandled. Him and Hulk have been mishandled.
Oh, Hulk, definitely. I'm so friggin' tired. Like, the whole reason the Hulk is interesting is because he's a normal guy, and then he hulks out into this unstoppable, uncontrollable thing. And they've almost never utilized that. The last time they utilized that well was really Age of Ultron, when he fights Iron Man.
You took the character with the most tragic background and the most tragic story, and he has a superpower that he doesn't even want, and there are so many directions you can take him, and you just made him a soy-infused, whiny jackass.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate this Hulk. I hope when Disney acquires the rights next year and gets the full rights to Hulk back, they say, Mark, thank you for your service. Send him on his way. Get somebody in there that can play the role right.
No.
I knew Debbie would disagree with me on that, but I said what I said.
Well, they're setting up some...
We disagree on a lot, John, but that's all right.
They're setting up his son or whatever. They already introduced Scar, and a lot of people weren't happy with the way he looked. And I think,
well, how they look kind of is, to me, that's artist interpretation, and that can always change. So how they look really never really bothers me. I mean, because these are the same people that were probably complaining when X-Men came out, and it was like, oh, they aren't the yellow and blue uniforms. Okay, just watch the movie, pal.
Yeah, I was like, don't you know what year it is? They're in Matrix clothes. Of course they are. Everybody's in Matrix clothes. It's the year 2000. We all thought we were going to die from the machines taking over. People took that metaphor incredibly literally.
Yes, I mean, I just think appearance, you can always change the appearance.
Speaking of appearance, I want to get back here real fast and talk about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 before we move back onto this other stuff. We talked a little bit about the humor. One thing I have seen is everyone online going like, oh, look, it's an Among Us reference. Oh,
I did that.
Everyone's doing it.
I was thinking it was a Skittles tie-in because I've never played Among Us, but
and I'm sitting here like, you filthy casuals, go watch 2001: A Space Odyssey.
And I can't
That's
believe
why I didn't know it, because I never watched it because it's such a freaking boring movie.
You kill me.
I hate.
Well, we are in a show talking about Marvel movies, so it's like, yeah, I guess you're expecting a certain type of thing in your movie. But 2001: A Space Odyssey is great.
I totally am so mad at myself for missing that reference. I'm disappointed greatly in myself. I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, I gotta figure that's also partially what inspired, like, Among Us. They're like, okay, well, maybe someone saw this. Well, not this, but I mean, the Gorillas also had their 20th anniversary. So, but yeah, I gotta say, 2001: A Space Odyssey,
great movie.
But everyone is obsessed with like Among Us right now, so naturally, everyone's like, "Look, that's that game I play."
I've never played it.
I've played it a couple times.
Never played it. Never played Fortnite.
Fine. Yeah, I've played that a couple times, but it's not.
Look, I have enough self-esteem issues. Getting murked by 12-year-olds doesn't need to be on the like. I can't.
Like one-player games. Then the only person I can get furious at is really myself. Just the way I like it. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 definitely looks pretty good. Looks emotional. Yeah, I mean, you got Rocket meeting his girlfriend and looking wounded, and he's doing a lot of the voiceover for this. So that's why I'm thinking it's like, oh, he's gone.
Don't
say goodbye to Rocket. He's getting old. How long do raccoons live? I know he's cybernetically enhanced, but still.
I thought Adam looked great.
Oh, right. Adam Warlock. Well, you're one of the few. No. Apparently a lot of people are upset about him too. But I'm like,
really?
It's just
Why?
a trailer. Like, you barely even see him in this.
Why are people upset? Just
he he doesn't look good enough. His hair's not long enough. Blah 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 blah. You know, like
Oh my god.
people complain about just about anything.
Yes, I know. I thought he looked great. Look, cutie patootie.
Okay, well, that's definitely not the words that I would use.
Who was the host that used to say cutie patootie? There was a talk show host that used to say that.
Who knows?
It's like I think it was Rosie O'Donnell.
I have no idea.
So I think it's unfortunate that Adam Warlock hasn't been introduced already. Yeah. The Infinity Gauntlet saga is over. So I guess he'll just be involved. He'll help fight Kang.
Well, I think, and this is just speculation, because we see a couple short clips here of the evolutionary. Is that his name? He's the one that did all the experiments on Rocket.
I think so.
Okay, so we've seen a couple of clips of him in this, and I wonder if that's who Rocket is talking about. He's not going to run anymore. Maybe he's been on the run from this guy. You know, I'm sure he's probably
I need to get my talking raccoon back.
Yeah.
For science.
The first prison he escaped, and he more than likely probably had to leave his girlfriend, wife, Lila.
That's
behind.
just the same story as Wolverine. Got to get my hands on that Weapon X. Just leave me alone. I want to be Canadian. I'm up here being a lumberjack.
I could have been an Alpha Flight. Had to be a damn X-Men.
Oh my god. So yeah,
That's
we're
when
gonna
you
get to see Adam Warlock. That'll be fun. Sue, James Gunn, speaking of which, I guess this is going to be the last thing we're going to see him doing for Marvel for a good while.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
once you
sad
take
about
over,
that, but DC needs all the help they can get.
DC needs all the help they can get, and this is going to swing the pendulum in a big way. This is going to be, if I'm Disney, I'm not happy right now.
Well, maybe they can work a deal where he does the movie for DC and then he comes back and does the movie for Marvel.
Well, isn't he like co-managing?
He's the co-head of.
He wants.
I mean, but the thing is, and you can set your watch to it, and I know at Disney they know it's that time, and every 10 to 15 years, Disney has a purge of talent. People leave. It happened with Don Bluth and Co. It happened when they fired Tim Burton. It happened when they fired John Lasseter. And this time the company is huge. It's never been this big. So you're losing a lot of talent. What you're putting out isn't going to be up to snuff, and they have to get a renaissance going. And you can set a watch to it, and you can go back in history, and you can look at the timeline of Disney. It happens every 10 to 15 years, and then they come back roaring. But I think this is going to be the valley. And they've got a high peak to climb, because when James Gunn goes to DC with David Zaslav running it and keeping a tight ship, DC Studios is going to come back furiously, and Marvel is going to be on a downswing, and the tides are going to turn, and Disney will rebound from it, but it's going to be a lot of work because they're all their main characters are dead. Mm-hmm. They're going into an era where they're trying to rely on B characters and female counterparts, and you don't know how that's going to play out. So I don't know what the game plan is, and I don't think they quite know what it is either. Yeah.
Because we see all these like shows that they're talking about starting up as well, like Agatha and like all these. It's like, what's your actual plan for going forward? You must have, like, obviously Kang. But is it just make as many live action things as is humanly possible, or do you slow it down?
Which is what they're going to do. They're going to reevaluate 5 and 6 bases.
Personally, what I would do is I would temporarily suspend the universe and focus on good storytelling. If I was Kevin Feige right now, I would go in. You own Marvel Comics. You have access to hundreds of thousands of story arcs. You could say, hey, pull up Avengers 1986, see what they had going on in that year. Let's do a quick movie on that. No strings attached. Just find a really good story arc, tell a really good story, and then we can move on. And when we figure out what we're doing, we can tie everything together. And that is personally what I would do. Enough of this. Everything needs to be succinct, and we need to just keep connecting everything. Take it easy for a minute. Put out a good story. Get the fans' confidence back. And then figure out what you're going to do with the MCU moving forward.
I think that's a good idea because I think they're also going to take a look at how much money they're making. Like, what is the return you're getting? Like, how much did it cost to make these series? And then how much are you getting back on Disney Plus? And how much of that is just from that? It's like, how much money are you spending to make these things versus how much you're getting back? Because I think movies would generally have a bigger return for them, especially the way Marvel movies working, because they still have that. Everyone goes to see a Marvel movie. I mean, what? Black Panther, Wakanda Forever made like as much as Black Adam in 3 days, and Black Adam was out for like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
it's like then that's just because Marvel has the momentum right now. They're gonna be making money on stuff,
but that's not gonna last forever.
Down. Yeah, and I'd say it's on the downswing, especially since I think Wakanda Forever people expected that to do even better than it did. But like the next thing that I'm really excited for, luckily, is Quantumania, because that's hopefully gonna, that clearly from the trailer they've been putting their VFX artists to work on that.
And they have to go back to making the movies events. It's not an event anymore. There's a new movie coming out every month. People are getting fatigued. People are stopping. People have stopped caring. When Black Panther came out, what was that? 16, 18? 2016, 2018?
It was 18.
It was 18. When it came out, that was an event. And when a lot of the marquee movies came out, that was an event. And it made going to the movies fun. And it's like, we haven't been out to the movies in a while, but wow, this is coming out. Let's get in line. Let's be part of this. Yeah. And Disney
even
has
say it
not...
by the main character. You'd say like the new Thor movies come out, or the new Captain America movies come out. Now it's like the new Marvel thing is happening.
It's like, I don't know, Captain America got frozen again or something. I don't care. So I mean, and they need to go back to, and this goes across the board for Disney. Disney movies, animated, later on Star Wars, Marvel, they used to be something special. It used to be, wow, this is going to be a piece of cinematic history, and I want to be a part of it. Whether you see it 3 weeks later or you see it on opening night, you want to be a part of that. And you want to go in and you want to be involved. But now they're pumping out so much content. You're just kind of like, it's going to be streaming in 40 days. I don't care.
Yeah. Just watch it. Yeah, it's not worth like going out.
It's sad because I am a huge fan of the movie theater. I love the movie theater. I love premieres. I love hanging out. I love talking to other fans. You get your stale popcorn and your fake butter and your super syrupy Coca-Cola, and you hang out and you forget about what's going on outside of that dark theater for 2 to 3 hours. And it's, I used to love that. And now it's just kind of, they're forcing you to consume all this content all at once. And it's just, you get fatigue. Mm-hmm. It's like binge watching a Netflix show. It's kind of like, oh God, do I really have to keep going with this?
I live for that. I'm the exact opposite. I hate going out in public. I mean, I have to for work and whatnot, but I prefer to stay at home on my comfy couch. I can pause it if I have to go to the bathroom, or if I want to go outside or out to the garage or outside for a cigarette. Just do whatever I want and not have to worry about my bladder exploding because it's a 4-hour freaking movie, and not have to with kids in the theater and people all the time in the theater. Although
Yes,
my
Debbie
theater,
hates the movie theater.
I do, but my theater, since I'm from a small town, whenever I go, even on opening weekends, there's maybe 10, 15 people tops.
Well, where
So that
I
makes
live,
me happy, but I still
there's
hate
multiple
going out.
theaters and they're all packed. So I'm always like, oh, they should get your tickets early, and then she's like, oh, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, all right, well, I got to make sure I do that. So I'm just reminding myself, I guess, because people actually live in the area that I'm
Yeah,
in.
Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. First movie on Saturday opening weekend. That's when I go, usually.
I mean, I just think there's something special, especially when like Marvel was still somewhat of a novelty and when Star Wars wasn't pumping out as much content as it is now. When you go to the theater and you'd see parents with their children and they were like kind of passing it along to them in the in the theater and taking their kids to see whether it was Star Wars for the first time or see Captain America, and the kids are in costume and everyone's having fun. I mean, there's something that used to be special about that, and that feeling is kind of gone now with the amount of content that's being pumped out. It's kind of like crap. I got to put a costume on again. It was just last week I did this.
Yeah, in that respect, I understand what you're talking about, but I think even still, there's like some things that the fans don't give up on, like Deadpool, for instance. Every premiere of that I've gone to is, been the Deadpool fans showing up. Of course, there's only been like the two, but it's, it's different for people that are like, oh, I'm a fan of the X-Men, and then it's like, okay, Fox is making, and then they come out with a bunch of terrible X-Men movies at the end there, and it's like, I don't want to go show off, like I don't want to make them think that I'm proud of what they're doing here. But going to the movies, it is a different experience.
And it's so
I'm kind of a mix, between both of you guys. I like it when it is a big event thing, but like you said, I don't feel that way about as many movies anymore. So the only ones that I have to make sure I go see are the ones that I like. If we're talking about them on Monday for this show, then I make sure I go see them. But pretty much any other movie, it's like you said, that'll be on streaming in like 40 days.
I really think Disney should just throw out a test or like a troll and make a movie about like the awesome slapstick and see how much box office they could get with like the second rate character or like an Alpha Flight movie.
I don't know if they can afford stuff like that. They already did it with Strange World, which that's their latest animated movie, and it flopped more completely than.
But like I said,
they got to look at how they're going to be making money.
They're hitting their valley, and now they've hit bottom. They got to hit that renaissance. Like I said, you can set your watch to it every 10 to 15 years. Disney hits bottom, everyone counts them out, and then they come roaring back. And in about 2 to 3 years, you're going to see Disney pumping out content like you've never seen. And you're going to say, that people get worried because the stock drops. People get worried because, there's not that much confidence in the brand. You can say a lot of things about Bob Iger, but Bob Iger knows how to turn a buck. And he's coming back in 2 to 3 years. Disney will be back. They'll be they'll be cranking out blockbusters again.
I don't think, does anyone actually count them out ever?
I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of it is people hate the brand, and a lot of people want to see them fail, so they'll write about them failing. And when they hit a period like this, it's like, is this the end for Disney? And you see the sensationalist headlines.
Well, I see those. I see how. Well, I don't take anything that seriously, because is this the end of Disney? It's like, are you just trying to get my attention? Because no, they have. It's like the only way it would be the end of Disney is if Disney got bought by somebody, and even then, it wouldn't be the end of Disney. Like, it's too. Honestly,
I think it would be the end of Disney as we know it. I think that moment, if they don't right the ship, that's rapidly approaching.
Well, the end of Disney, it might be fine because current Disney isn't, like you said, what it was years ago. So maybe it needs to be.
I think that I think they need to do a head to toe just scrubbing of the company, tightening of the ship, and they need to get back to cranking out. They need Walt Disney. Happy birthday, Walt Disney! By the way. He always said, we must never forget that this all started with one mouse. And they have lost sight of that a long time ago, and they need to get back to their humility, and they need to get back to relating to fans and putting out products that fans want.
I never really cared for Mickey Mouse.
I was more of a Donald Duck guy. I could relate to him more.
Just whatever. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. See what happens. What are we talking about? James Gunn going to DC. I think where last we were talking about that, we said that's going to be good for DC. I would definitely agree, because even just watching the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, like, he was just doing those. If he can be the Kevin Feige essentially for DC, that's definitely going to help them out. If they can bring that level of fun, excitement to characters that are already more popular, like
the Suicide Squad, the second one, didn't he do that?
He did the second Suicide Squad, and he does Peacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done something else for DC. I forgot what it was, but I know the Suicide Squad and the Peacemaker are the two things that he's known for in the DC universe.
I definitely enjoyed both of those. So,
Mm-hmm.
And Peacemaker, like the show, just I'm watching it. It's like you never get this from Marvel. Maybe current Marvel, you know what I mean? And I thought, like, it's similar to Deadpool. Some of it's actually almost like a ripoff of Deadpool, like Vigilante.
Yeah.
Look, that's Deadpool.
That's totally Deadpool.
Yeah, but you know that's what comics have done since the beginning of comics, is they just rip off and do.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Aquaman and Namor.
Yeah, but I was thinking you wouldn't see. Well, literally, Deadpool is Slade. There's Wade Wilson, who's Deadpool, and then there's Slade Wilson, who is Deathstroke, and it's like, yes, that happens all over the place.
Well, you know why that is, right?
Well,
DC rejected Wade Wilson. He was supposed to be part of the Teen Titans. That was supposed to be Deathstroke's answer to Teen Titans, and they rejected it. So Rob Liefeld took him to Marvel, and Marvel made millions of dollars off of him. That's why the names rhyme, and that's why it's always a running joke.
Well, there's like a million other characters that are exactly the same thing.
Oh yeah, Black Cat, Catwoman. You know, the list goes on.
Yep. So it's, you know, fine to see, but I was just thinking, as far as movies go and live action stuff goes, watching Peacemaker, I'm like, you wouldn't get this kind of show if, say, on Disney Plus. Maybe we'll have to see what's going to happen with Deadpool, because this is going to be the first Disney Deadpool, and Ryan Reynolds seems excited about it. And yeah, I guess we'll see with Daredevil too. But
well, I think what's going to benefit DC when Gunn goes to DC, and what's going to be detrimental to Marvel, is Marvel runs their movies, and Disney for that matter runs their movies by committee, which hurts the story sometimes. And James Gunn is a filmmaker, and he's not going to do that. He's going to actually pick the people that will fit the character, and he's going to have them make the movie based on the character. And Marvel is a lot more rigid in the filmmaking process. And I think Gunn being in charge of DC, they're going to have a lot more autonomy over their movies. There's going to be a lot more autonomy over the writing process. And I think the movies are going to flow a lot better and not be as predictable as your standard Marvel movie is right now.
Definitely be interesting to see, because like I do enjoy a lot of the Marvel films, but you definitely do get a sense of, like you said, the cookie cutter, you know, the way that it looks. They use the same people for a lot of the stuff, and you're put into a box. So, you know, there's a lot of different filmmakers where if you just gave them more of a free reign, you'd have a different looking style. For instance, like Tim Burton when he did Batman, you know, that definitely was his unique style. Christopher Nolan when he did Batman, that was also like his unique take on the character. And I definitely think it's interesting to see those things. It's harder to do, I guess, team up movies with that style of thinking, but not impossible.
And I think it's finally gonna, for the love of God, shut people up about the Snyderverse, because it could have been so much better than the Snyderverse, and I think Gunn's gonna show that. And the DC fans have this weird cultist opinion of Zack Snyder. And it's like, I'm not going to say he's a bad filmmaker, but he's not the be all and end all of DC films. I mean, he's put out a lot of bad movies too. Let's all acknowledge that. He hasn't put out, not everything he's made was great. The guy's not Alfred Hitchcock. He's put out a lot of bad work, and it was dragged on, and he has a problem with editing and pacing. And I think it was you. I was on this very show, and you said Justice League would have been an hour shorter if he didn't do the music for Wonder Woman and the slow motion.
Slow motion, yeah. It was ridiculous. No, the amount of slow motion in that movie was absolutely terrible, and it undercut the purpose of what he was trying to use slow motion for. You're trying to make something look special. Well, it's not special if it happens every single scene.
Yeah, and every time Wonder Woman comes on screen, and you're Ma,
and it means
you're like,
nothing.
What is this?
Let's slow down time for when the Flash is running. It's like, well, you're doing that for every character, so I assume every single character is just as fast as this guy. Therefore, he has no speed. What are you doing? Anyway, yeah, no, it's putting it all on one person's shoulders is. It's not like Kevin Feige directs every single Marvel film. He's there to keep track of the story and
when he had
certain aspects of that thing, but.
I think he's lost control in the later years, but when he had the reins tight, the MCU was awesome. He had it going like a well-oiled machine, and I don't know if it got too big for him or if he just lost a little control, because the who was it? The writer of She-Hulk openly mocked him and talked about bullying him. 15 years ago, she would have been fired. He would have just said, "Oh, you want to make fun of me? Okay, I got 15 people that want your job. Get out."
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with him, but when he had the reins tight, he was the MCU was unstoppable. And
there is just so much now. They're just putting out so much. Before it was literally, okay, there's a Iron Man movie, then there's a Captain America movie, then there's a Thor movie, then there's the second ones of Iron Man, and then it was Avengers. And then it was okay, then they started introducing new characters, but then they still had the original characters, and now they just have tons of characters. That's why some of the characters are dying off, as it were. But I still think they should just wipe the slate clean and start with a new group.
I mean,
it doesn't have to be Iron Man even. Just start over.
I mean, it doesn't have to be Iron Man. You acquired Fox Studios in 2019.
Started over.
How did Shang-Chi and the Eternals get greenlighted before you even began to talk about the Fantastic Four or X-Men? And this is why I'm saying I don't think there's a plan. Because if there was a plan, you acquired Fox Studios in 2019, COVID or not, get an X-Men movie written right away. We have it. It's back. Get it in there. Get it into theaters. We need to bring it back. We need to put our stamp on it. What about Eternals? Okay, back up the X-Men, and yeah, we got to get Eternals out there. What are you thinking? What are you doing? I don't want to watch the Eternals. The Eternals don't even want to watch the Eternals.
I hate that movie, but it's badly done. Yeah, I would have rather seen an X-Men film, but
and right the ship, the Fantastic Four, that's Marvel's first family. They have yet to have a good film treatment. You could have done that. Yet you've had more than enough time to get a good writer to make some of these projects. And but I think, again, and this goes back to Disney, part of the problem why they dig themselves into the hole every 10 to 15 years and have to dig themselves back out, they rest on their laurels. There's no competition. We don't need to make an X-Men movie. We're fine. Who's gonna make a movie that can beat us? Warner Brothers? Good luck with Ezra Miller, guys. And now, things are coming back. And it's coming back to bite them in the ass because they rested on their laurels yet again. So, and it's to quote Disney, it's a tale as old as time.
Well, we'll see what happens in Phase 5, I guess. It'll be interesting to see how many of the shows that they've announced actually come to fruition. I think some of them might get taken off the table. The only confirmed renewed shows are Loki and What If.
Well, What If is great, and they'd be fools not to renew that because it's an easy show to make. I have heard, I don't know if you've read, Oscar Isaac is in talks with the studio for Moon Knight Season 2. He's very optimistic. So hopefully by Phase 7, Phase 6 or 7, we'll get something in regards to that. But I don't know. See, 5, the only thing that really caught my eye was Nova, and I know that they're working on the Secret Wars. And
yeah, there's already been a trailer out for that.
What, Secret Wars?
Mm-hmm.
Nick Fury. And I guess the Skrulls. So we'll see if there's any cameos from.
But if you have the Skrulls, you're gonna have to roll out something with the Fantastic Four beforehand. You can't have Skrulls appear without Reed Richards.
Who knows? With these guys, I don't know. Like, I'd love to see some Fantastic Four happening, but I mean, the closest you've gotten is that tease in Doctor Strange and the
Doctor
Multiverse of
Strange.
Madness. Yeah. And then he gets turned into spaghetti. And it's an inauspicious beginning. And that's actually the only time you got the X-Men, too.
Dwight Schrute put him in the paper shredder.
Yeah, and he's all over. But he also had Professor X and gone. And so it's like, look, we have the ability to put these characters on the big screen. What are you going to do with them? Nothing.
Kill them off.
Yeah. Like, use them as a bit. Get it? Okay, Mr. Fantastic. We saw on the internet that people wanted this guy from that Office show to be cast as you. So we're going to throw you in a bit scene and people are going to lose their minds. Anson Mount, you were in a show that nobody liked. Let's bring you back. Inhumans, the worst thing that no one ever watched. And they tried to release the first 2 episodes of that show in theaters, and I was like, why? Have you seen the costumes? I've looked at those costumes on a regular size screen. I don't want to see them on a big screen. God, no.
I'm just envisioning Marvel Studios right now, and this is the amount of confidence I have in them. Like, you have like this writer that's been working his whole life, huge Fantastic Four fan, Mr. Feige. I have a great Fantastic Four movie. It ties everything in. The origin story's on point. You know, Galactus isn't a smoke monster. He's actually a dude that eats planets, okay? And it's going to set up for a Silver Surfer show, and the show is going to be awesome. I can help on that if you want. Hey, man, I'm in the middle of a Darkhawk movie, okay? Do you know how long fans have been waiting for a Darkhawk movie? And you're coming to me about the Fantastic Four?
Well, they know people want.
You go on, writer.
I mean, they'd probably what would actually happen is someone with no credentials whatsoever and no love for the Fantastic Four would show up and be like, I'll do it. And then he's like, all right, I'll pick you. Why would you pick the person that knows what they're talking about? They're too committed to the source material. How could you be too committed to this? I don't understand what you're saying.
So
it's literally the source material. What are fans going to want?
To adapt Moby Dick, and I'm thinking he's going to be a stingray, and the movie will take place on a speedboat. No objections. Okay.
That's like when they did Book of Boba Fett. He was like, "Hey, you're famous in Star Wars for being a bounty hunter, and now it's time for your own show, and we're gonna bring you back." And it's like, is he bounty hunting? No. Now he's a crime lord, and then what crimes do you commit? I protect the citizens of this town. And it's like, okay, so you took a character that was popular, made a show based on that character's popularity, and then changed everything about them in the show. How did you think that was going to work?
I've made this argument before. I'm not opening this can of worms. I'm just saying a lot of people disagreed with me on it. And I totally agree with you on it. I don't understand it. You don't give the fans what they want. It's like, are we going to have them in gunfights? Are we going to have them, fighting it out with the Hutts? No, philosophy.
Dances with Tuscans.
Dances with Tuscans.
Or yeah, what was the other one? Someone said, there were a bunch of good jokes about that. Dances with Banthas.
It's just like Disney right now reminds me of that scene in The Simpsons where like Mr. Burns is like, I think I'll donate $1 million to that children's orphanage. When pigs fly and the pig shoots out of the dam across the sky, and Smithers is like, do you want me to write the check for you now, sir? I'd rather not. And then it just ends.
Yeah. Well, they're so ridiculous about certain things. Like the Boba Fett thing, it's like they try to make him a hero. And it's like, at best, he's morally gray. He shouldn't be taking over a town. He should go be the best bounty hunter in the universe. And like if you are a fan of the expanded universe, like I am, he's out there being a badass all the time. Even if you go back to like the Empire, like during the original trilogy era, he's already the best bounty hunter around. It would have been great to see him team up with other bounty hunters that are or work against them. One of my favorite trilogies is the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy, and it's great. Bosk is in there, Zuckuss is in there, Forlom is in there at one point, and those are all the different bounty hunters that show up in The Empire Strikes Back. It'd be great to get to see more of them on screen and more action with that, but it's like, nah, we're just going to turn this guy into a completely different character, and that would be great. And we can't have him driving a ship called Slave One. We'll just call it Fire Spray, because he's a good guy now, and we can't have any mention
it's not even that anymore. It's just Boba Fett's ship if you buy the Lego set.
And it's, I'm like, no. Well, I'll tell you what. It's Slave One forever and always. One of my favorite things is in, like, the Bounty Hunter Wars, someone's got him, like, two people sneak up on him, and he like stalls them long enough for his ship to come literally land on them. And he's like, yeah, I signaled it in my helmet because I've got my helmet slaved to the ship because, that's, and so, because it was his, and he's a bad guy. Can a bad guy not have a ship with a bad name? We can't actually have anyone be bad anymore. Everyone is redeemable, blah, blah, blah.
Well, if they were going to go the redemption arc route, and I don't know how we got to Star Wars, but I'll just say this real quick.
Disney owns both Marvel and Star Wars.
If we're going to go the redemption arc route, I would have done the Mandalorian. I would have made Boba Fett the Mandalorian, and I would have had the Mandalorian that's in the show now. I would have had him be Boba's left hand, and I would have had Fennec be Boba's right hand. So he kind of has an angel and the devil on the shoulder, figuratively. And then, you have, if you want the redemption arc, you have Boba Fett with the little merchandising opportunity, and they're hanging out, and kind of warms up Boba Fett's heart after he escapes the Sarlacc pit. And then you have a show there that pretty much writes itself. But no, you have philosophy.
She just made him a bounty hunter.
Or you have a weekly series where he just hunts people.
Yeah.
I would have much rather watched that.
That would be a good show. And that's the thing, because they were gonna have a Boba Fett movie and an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, and then they axed both of those. They stopped everything, and they were like, all right, well, we're gonna test the waters with the Mandalorian, and that was basically probably taking a lot of the ideas they had for using Boba Fett, and then they combined that with something they could sell, which was Grogu. And so then they're like, all right, we're going to make a Boba Fett show. Well, we can't have it being a bounty hunter. We already have a bounty hunter show. And hold on, actually, no, you don't, because he barely ever does bounty hunting stuff. Yes, it's an exciting Star Wars show, but how often is he actually bounty hunting?
No, he got to fight. He got to fight with Apollo Creed and stop bounty hunting.
Yeah, that happened very early on. So you can still have a show where there's like dedicated to bounty hunting, bounty hunters. Boba Fett, bounty hunter. There's your show.
And wait a minute, that was a new character. How is Boba Fett going to forfeit his seniority as a bounty hunter? Like, if you're really in the writer's room, that's why I can't do this. I'd be the guy that would be like, are we really having Boba Fett take a backseat to a newbie? What are we doing here, guys? What's going on? What is the plan?
I gotta say, Boba, this is one beauty of a ship. Not crazy about the name, though.
I get it. Star Wars. What are you going to do?
Well, it's hitting a point, especially with Indiana Jones coming out now, and the rumors coming out.
How much did they pay Harrison Ford for that? My God.
I don't know. Is he cognitive? It was probably like, here's a pack of Mentos and the remote we stole from you.
And he was like,
here's your newspaper, Mr. Ford. Can you film this movie?
Grant, what's up? Dengar played by Robert De Niro.
Yeah, he's too old.
Well, Dengar's face looks like crap, so I think at this point, Robert De Niro would fit just fine. He's like wrapped in toilet paper. But yeah, I'm a fan of Dengar. He's actually the one that in the books, in the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy, he's one of the people that pulls Boba Fett out of the Sarlacc pit, nurses him back to health, or helps him get better, and then goes on a... Well, there's a whole lot that happens. It's really good, but because there's good, they go forward and backward in time, so I sometimes get lost thinking about it. But that's the thing I would have liked to see, because he gets out of the Sarlacc and then immediately starts like getting revenge. It's like, let's see some more of that.
Well, and look at the way like Mandalorian season 2 ended. He, like, in the post-credit scene, he came in. He I don't know the side characters' names too well. He shot the guy with the snake head from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And pretty much threw him off the throne, sat, rightfully so, mask on, gun on the armrest, and then philosophy.
Well, it was he shouldn't have settled down. He shouldn't. I don't know. The whole show is just ridiculous, because then he insists he's a crime lord, but he doesn't do any crimes. He shuts down crimes. There's spice coming through this area. I'm gonna shut that down. No, you can't be a crime lord if you're not committing any crime. You're more like a sheriff. Okay, Sheriff Boba Fett. Guess what? I hate that. I hate it. Let him be a bad guy, or at least.
They could have.
He works for the Empire, but one of the great things about that in the books is he defended his actions as being legal. He's like, look, they're the legal government. I'm working for the current legal government. Yeah, he's talking to Princess Leia, and he's like, you are the terrorists. Like, you are the ones who are going against the currently established government. Now, if you were to win and set up a new government, I guess I'd have to work under the rules of that government. But you can't fault me for following the law. And she's like, oh, damn.
Did he say that?
Yeah, there's a whole point. Jabba sends her in to his room. I think it's in Tales of Jabba the Hutt's palace. It's either Tales of Jabba the Hutt, or yeah. And
I'm still, since I joined Geek News now, I'm getting used to the extended stuff, so I'm not very well versed in it.
Legends, but and this is back before Jango Fett really even existed as a thing. So they do well with merging the canon, but I really like this version of Boba Fett, because he's talking to Princess Leia and he's like, yeah, I'm the one who's currently doing stuff legally. You and your rebel friends are the ones who are bad. Han Solo is a piece of crap. He says something like that. He goes, don't you dare compare me to Han Solo. Han Solo smuggles drugs, and she goes, it was just spice. Like he only did that one time. And Boba Fett's like, spice is addictive. So he doesn't necessarily like spice or spice runs, but he also doesn't care because he works for Jabba the Hutt, who runs tons of spice. So it's like, I'm a bounty hunter, all right, and the rule is I collect bounties. Done. And I would like to see that. Bib Fortuna, that was the guy.
No, I said snake. He had like a snake head.
Yeah, that's who he is.
Is this a
technically
show?
Star Wars was published by Marvel for a time, so we're still kind of on brand.
Could talk about the comics. That was one of the times, because technically Luke fought Darth Vader 3 times. One of those times was in comics. But let's not get into that. Show's over
No.
anyway. We covered all the Guardians I wanted to talk about early on, so we just talked about whatever we wanted to after that. And Star Wars, you know, it's always a great topic.
How does it always come back to Star Wars with me? I don't even know. I didn't even try this time.
I take credit for that. We're talking about like messing up stories, especially of pre-established characters, or like going against source material, and that's when I brought up Book of Boba Fett because that's what such the wrong way.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You brought up Solo and how Solo ended up like the Boba Fett movie was canceled and the other movies were canceled. That's because they released Solo again, flooding the market. You had The Last Jedi come out like 3 months before Solo, and The Last Jedi
insulted anyone who didn't like that movie as being a Russian bot or a troll.
And The Last Jedi, love it or hate it, is probably the most divisive movie in the library, and you had people reeling from that. And you put Solo out, which I will say was actually a good movie, except for Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and I really did enjoy it. But people were sour.
Whole thing was reshot. I want to see the original version of Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
I mean, I think that Donald Glover was good as a young Lando. I think there were a lot of things that ended up working for the movie, and I think it was just released. There were two things that went against it. It was released at the most inopportune time that you can release a Star Wars movie after The Last Jedi came out, and pretty much in an off season. And there was no marketing for that movie.
And they also, my theory on that movie and why it was made was Disney bought Star Wars right after they did that. This is true. They ran a poll on Disney.com. That's who's your favorite Star Wars character. Except at that time, this is right when they had bought Star Wars at the time. So the only people on Disney.com were like Disney fans, not necessarily Star Wars fans. And so the poll was like, who's your favorite Star Wars? By far, the favorite one was Han Solo. And that's because he's the most famous person like in Star Wars for people to pick. So he got the top spot from the Disney people because they're like, that's the person I recognize the most.
No, they buried the actual results. The top spots were an Ewok. Any Ewok. That. It was just Ewok written in.
But they saw that Han Solo is the most popular. So they're like, we'll make a Han Solo movie without real. And then they're like, okay, we'll also use a different character to play or a different actor to play Han Solo. And it's like, hey, the only reason everyone picked Han Solo is because they recognize Harrison Ford. You can't make a Han Solo movie and then not expect it to be really, popular and not have Harrison Ford in it.
But the kid filled the shoes in good. Donald Glover played a good Lando. It was a good movie, and it was, it wasn't no one's Harrison Ford. Let's be realistic.
Well, yeah, that's why you should have made a Han Solo movie.
But I mean, that's like saying I loved. I loved Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I loved that show, and that was a young version of Indiana Jones. I mean, if you're gonna make a younger version, you can't have Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford 1 looks miserable. That Indiana Jones 5 trailer was the most depressing thing I've seen in a long time. He just looks so unhappy. He looks like he's. Why am I here? I was living life so comfortably. Me and Ally McBeal are trying to live out our golden years.
Even when he's young, he looks like that. He gives you the finger point, and he's like, "I don't want to be here." And that's just the way that he is. Anyway, I think that's it for tonight because we're not even talking about Marvel anymore, and I'm gonna call it because I got stuff to do.
And for the record, it's usually me. It was not me this time.
Okay,
I did not steer the ship.
It's not a problem. We can talk about whatever we want. It's my show.
I know.
If I didn't want to talk about it, I wouldn't have kept talking about it for the last.
I know. I'm just playing around, man.
All right. We'll see you next week. Most likely, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. Woo!
Shit! Language.
Wait a second. No one else is going to deal with the fact that Cap just said language?
Just slipped out. Find the scepter.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
You bet your ass.
Steve, you said a bad language word.
Did you tell everyone about that? The handle's imprinted.
Out with the platinum bastard.
Steve doesn't like that kind of talk.
You know what, Romanov?